All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving into Shadows of the Cage, the dark history of human zoos. This is a chapter of our recent past that is honestly so shocking and so deeply unsettling that a lot of people today just flat out refuse to believe it actually happened. You know, we often think of history as this steady march toward progress, right? A straight line from darkness into light. But what happens when we shine a light on the shadows of that very progress? Well, let's dive into it. We're going to examine a historical reality that really challenges everything we assume about modern civilization, because this isn't a story of ancient forgotten times. This is a story about our modern world.
1958. When you think of the late 90s, what actually comes to mind? You're probably picturing, the birth of rock and roll, the dawn of the space age, mid-century modern homes, huge leaps in global technology and civil rights. It feels close to us. It's literally the era of our parents. But in stark contrast to all those massive modern advancements, this exact year also marks the exposure of a deeply unsettling, hidden truth that most textbooks completely leave out.
And that brings us to the central mystery of this explainer, a question that stops people dead in their tracks. Were humans kept in cages until 1958? The immediate reaction from almost anyone is just complete disbelief. We immediately ask ourselves, wait, how could that possibly be true? The sheer shock value of this recently exposed reality is absolutely staggering. And just to be clear, we aren't talking about prisons for criminals here. We are talking about something entirely different, something that flips our entire recent history completely upside down.
Section 1. Caged Humans, Dark Reality. So to really understand how this could happen, we have to push past that initial disbelief and face the facts directly.
The atrocity we're looking at is human zoos, the historical practice of keeping human beings in cages or enclosures for public display and entertainment. Just let that sink in for a second. Indigenous tribes across the globe were transported thousands of miles, not as workers, not as volunteers, but literally placed in replicated native villages behind fences to just be stared at by crowds. And the absolutely crucial point here is that word right at the end of the definition: entertainment. This wasn't some dark secret hidden away in a dungeon. This was a public spectacle, specifically designed and operated for the amusement of everyday people.
Section 2. Western 1800s to 1900s. So where and when did this systematically happen? Let's trace how this built up over time and geography.
Because this wasn't just an isolated incident. This was a systemic, completely normalized practice spanning well over countries. In the 1800s, we see the origins and early exhibits really taking root. Then, by the 1900s, this practice hit its absolute peak popularity across the West. We're talking about entire world fairs and major global exhibitions drawing literally millions of attendees specifically to see these enclosures. Entire generations grew up in societies where buying a ticket to gawk at a caged human was considered perfectly normal. And that timeline brings us right back to 1958, the era of the shocking late exposures. This proves we are absolutely not talking about ancient history. This was a normalized part of the modern era, surviving right up until the mid-20th century.
And there is a really stark contrast here that makes this history so impossible to believe today. On one hand, you have the highly sanitized image of modern Western countries during the 1800s and 1900s, the era of the Industrial Revolution, high art, literature, and the establishment of modern democratic ideals. But on the other hand, you have the barbaric reality of human cages existing right alongside them. How in the world did a society that prided itself on being the pinnacle of civilization simultaneously support such a deeply inhumane practice?
Section 3. The deep curiosity factor. To answer we've got to pivot and look at the psychological and social elements that allowed these exhibits to thrive in plain sight. The source material points to something called the deep curiosity factor, and this is vital to understand. Because these exhibits weren't just maintained by a few bad actors in the shadows, they were fueled by massive public curiosity. Newspapers from the time actually advertised these exhibits as wholesome family outings. They drew enormous crowds of ordinary people, families, children, who were all incredibly eager to view caged humans. That deep curiosity factor somehow completely overrode basic empathy. It reveals a chilling aspect of human nature. Just how easily a society can be drawn to spectacle, even when that spectacle completely strips others of their humanity.
Section 4. A forgotten modern history.
So, what should you take away from all of this? Let's bring it all together. When we look back at this sinister, widespread practice, it isn't just that it happened, it's that it has been largely forgotten, or maybe intentionally hidden from our modern historical narratives. I mean, think about it. If a practice as massive and public as human zoos, existing all the way up until the late 1950s, can be so easily wiped from our collective memory, we are left with a very provocative final question. How much of our modern history is still hiding in the shadows? It forces us to really question the sanitized versions of the past we've been handed, and it should leave all of us deeply curious to uncover exactly what else has been left out of the story.
If you found this deep dive as eye-opening as I did, we need your help to make sure this hidden history doesn't stay in the shadows. So please like, subscribe, comment, and share this explainer to spread the word. Engage with the content, drop your thoughts in the comments on what surprised you the most, and definitely share this with someone who loves history. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you on the next one.